Welcome to Progressive Short Takes. I'm your host, Joe Firestone. The topic of this short take is Impeach Trump again. Again. What should we impeach Trump for? Well, as I've been saying quite often, quite frequently, we ought to impeach him for his breaching both the domestic emoluments clause and the foreign emoluments clause of the Constitution. That goes without saying. He's been doing those things from day one. But second, we should impeach him for tax evasion. The recent release of 10 out of 15 years of taxes shows lots of material to build a case for tax evasion against Trump. Tax evasion is an important thing to get him for. It's clear to many, many Americans who hate the fact that they're paying taxes and he got off scot-free with absolutely no taxes being paid for 10 of the past 15 years. Everybody knows it and everybody hates it. But most of all, as I've said very, very frequently, he needs to be impeached because of his performance in relation to the COVID-19 crisis. Now here, I've discussed frequently numerical comparisons in terms of deaths per million between the United States as compared to other nations that have done very well with the virus. The message is not really driven home to the American people yet. The insane, foolish tendency of our media to say everything in a qualitative way and never, or at least to ignore critical indicators and what critical indicators show, and to assume the American people are not going to understand the difference in critical indicators means that even while people have talked of the immense failures of Donald Trump, they've been vague about it, and they haven't done the comparison they need to do. As of tonight, we have 649 fatalities per capita here in the United States. That number is continuously going up. It is one of the highest in the world. It is not the highest in the world, but it is one of the highest. And most importantly, when you compare that figure for the United States to the deaths per million sustained by successful countries, such as Taiwan, for example, 0.3 of a fatality per million, or New Zealand, 5 fatalities per million. If you take the 0.3 per million of Taiwan and compare it to the United States, they have performed nearly 2,500 times better than we have performed. You just divide 649 by 0.3 and you get 2,500 times more damaging on the measure of fatalities per million, which after all is the bottom line. It controls for size of nation. It lays bare how unsuccessful and how damaging our policies here in the United States have been. And why have those policies been so damaging? Because of all kinds of things Trump did and did not do. The U.S. military knew that the pandemic was serious, and they briefed him about it twice in January. He had a conversation with Woodward 1 month later, and he admitted he knew how contagious and deadly it was. But he didn't tell the public. He told the public it was going to disappear. It's like a miracle. Okay, it will disappear. He downplayed the disease continuously. He continues to do it. He has not even tried to cope with the virus. Instead, he's used distractions, scare tactics to warn against the immigrants. He didn't take serious action except his press briefings. They weren't serious action. He had those press briefings, and then he stopped those when the questioning from reporters got too tough for him. He's had no plan to handle the coronavirus. He still doesn't do it. He deliberately has confused people when it comes to mask wearing. He does it today. He does it today. The first thing he did when he got back to the White House from the hospital was to mount the steps to a balcony and rip off the mask. Rip off the mask. Take away the mask. As soon as he got home, he couldn't wait to show the American people he was taking away the mask. When he knows the mask is the single most effective thing that could have been done to contain the virus in the United States. He repeatedly downplayed the testing. He repeatedly claimed testing was part of the problem of the disease, that it wasn't the solution. Why? Because testing interfered with his marketing about his performance in relation to COVID-19. Trump himself didn't want to get infected, and the White House has an aggressive protocol to prevent him from getting infected. Of course, he knocked that protocol into a cocked hat because he violated it continuously with dangerous indoor rallies and dangerous outdoor rallies. Now that he is tested positive, some people hope he would change. But the first thing he did when he got back to the White House, or just before he got back to the White House, was to tweet to people that they shouldn't be worried about COVID. They shouldn't be worried about it. Don't let it run their life. Don't be worried about it. It's just incredible. He has been responsible for the fact that Taiwan has performed 2,500 times better than the United States. He has been responsible for the fact that New Zealand has performed 120 times better than the United States. He has been responsible for the fact that South Korea has performed something like 500 times better than the United States. He has been responsible for the fact that China, and I really do think their numbers can be trusted on this. He's going to poo-poo these numbers all he wants, but they have 3 fatalities per million because they acted real tough and protected their population against the virus. Why? Because in China, they have something called the mandate of heaven. It's a Chinese idea that was applied to the emperors, in olden times. When things broke down and the emperors failed to do things well, that's when revolutions took place in China, because people reasoned that the rulers of China no longer had the mandate of heaven. I think that's what got the Chinese communists to really emphasize that they hadn't lost the mandate of heaven, that the virus wasn't going to get the best of them. And what they did is they buckled down, and they got it down in a nation of 1.4 billion people, almost 1.5 billion people, they got it down to 3 fatalities per million, about 4,600 deaths for the whole country, whereas we have 215,000 deaths according to the Worldometer site, okay, tonight. Now, this is his failure to produce the COVID-19 virus is a staggering high crime under the Constitution, impeachable. He failed to defend us against COVID-19, and he failed to defend us through criminal negligence. He needs to be impeached. I know the Democrats keep saying that he ought to be thrown out. He ought to be thrown out of here through an election. That's not the point. The point is, he's still got this month in office, the next month, the next 25 days until a decision is rendered in an election. After that, he's got the rest of November, the rest of December, and 2/3 of January to sit there as the President of the United States. And that assumes he won't be successful in performing a coup d'etat. That's what it assumes. Mr. Trump needs to be impeached again. If the Senate won't take it up until after the election, fine, let the Senate not take it up until after the election. But we need Donald Trump out before January 20th. We need him out. If we want to keep this country safe, we need him out. He is a threat to our national security. He has proved it. Because if we had performed as well as Taiwan has performed, we would have something like 100 people dead now, or 150 people dead now, something like that. Instead, we have 215,000 dead. That is the magnitude of what he has done to us. That is the magnitude of his failure to perform. That is the crime he has committed as the President of the United States that deserves impeachment. And that's the end of this progressive short take. I'll see you soon with another one.